Hi, my name is George, and in this video we're going to look at Canon C300 RAW files compared to the actual 2K files that you can record internally, on a little bit about how they might appear different. And just for you guys to know, this is actually 422 10-bit 2K, not the 444 12-bit 2K, which the C300 Mark II can actually record internally. So for recording this, I used a Odyssey 7Q Plus, and I recorded 4K RAW files, and everything's opened in DaVinci. So let's go to DaVinci. This is DaVinci 14.2, and we're gonna do two just regular sort of kind of by the eye grades. I like using ARRI Alexa or ARRI log C conversion LUTs to sort of convert the Canon footage using that LUT. I just like how it looks. I prefer it a little bit to the Canon LUTs. So let's first look at the Canon XF-AVC Intra, which is the 10-bit compressed codec that the camera can do in 2K. And we're going to do a node for the adjustments and a secondary node in which we're actually going to put the LUT. And we're going to use the 3D LUT that is supplied with DaVinci. So that's the ARRI LUT applied right there. It's a very heavily exposed to the right this shot, so we'll have to bring in, I'll just use the curves. So I'll go to my previous node and I'll just put the curve, I'll put this guy down and I'll just lift a little bit like that to get an effect of something like this. All right. So we sort of have a nice contrast now going on. We might add a bit of punch in the color, put the saturation at 60, and we could even do a perhaps here a secondary correction after the LUT. So we'll go to the reds and tune them more towards yellow, maybe just a tad, and then go to the hue versus saturation and play a little bit with the skin sort of saturation, see where that would put us. All right, so all together we started from here, we came here, super simple, 3 sort of nodes. So let's do a new version. Or actually, let's not do a new version, but just sort of take what we've done here, and we're just gonna sort of copy it, and then so I made a gallery image or still, and I'm just gonna apply that exactly same node tree to the raw data. So I'm just gonna right click here and say apply grade. And here's what you can actually notice the first problem. So there is difference between the images. I'm just going to switch between them quite quickly. So let me just get this bigger. So there is I don't know if you see it with the compression online, but I mean, you do see a little bit more grain. I mean, I have disabled noise reduction on everything. It's at -1. On both the compressed internal codec, and then there is no noise reduction on the raw file that is recorded on the external monitor. So you can definitely, even though it should be the same, it isn't. And of course, the other one is a 2K image, the other one is a 4K image. On the raw image, you definitely see a little bit more noise, which you should, take out. You can see a little bit more saturation, I would say. Sorry, here. So this is the raw. But what sort of strikes me first is that you get these artifacts. So if you look at this plastic thing that my daughter is eating, you get these sort of like noise things. And if I just play this, it will actually move, and it's really ugly and it's very weird. It's something that we don't really have with the compressed footage, so I'll just play that one. And we don't really have it. And I think, I'm not really sure why this happens, but I tend to run into problems like this when I use a LUT to convert footage to a from a log gamma curve to a Rec 709 gamma in color space. So I've been following this colorist. I think it was Brazilian guy or Australian guy. I'm really sorry. I'm gonna put his name in the comments and a link to his videos because he's amazing. But he essentially recommended using the OpenFX tool called color compressor. No, sorry, color space transform, which is, by the way, part of the free part of DaVinci Resolve. And when I use that, I don't get these artifacts. It might be a little bit different look, but it's sort of a nice, easy base. So let's, considering that, just go to a new version, and let's go to the new version 2. So I'll just delete these nodes. I'll make 3 nodes, and I'll do a color space transform before and after. So here, the first node essentially will transform our gamma to Ari gamma, and then here we're going to do all our edits, and then here we're going to transform what we have to a Rec 709. So here we would start with input color space, and by the way, this is completely part of his video and his tutorial. He explains it a lot better. But here we'll start with color cinema gamut and Canon cinema gamut, and we'll say that this is Canon log 2 as input gamma. Output color space, we'll keep the Canon cinema gamut, and then we'll do a Ari log for the gamma. We'll leave the rest of the stuff untouched, and then the output node, or the last node, sort of, will have input now as color space as Canon, and then input gamma is Ari log C, and that Ari log C we will make to Rec 709. Also the color will be Rec 709. This looks horrible right now. That's okay. We're going to use tone mapping. So luminance mapping and then saturation mapping. That sort of kind of gets us there. We're totally overexposed, but that's why we have the middle node. So we'll just jump to the middle node and we use our tools of preference. I like curves, so I'll just push down on the curves and sort of play around with that until you get sort of the exposure level that you want. Now I know this area looks pretty bad, and we're just gonna ignore that. So the highlights here, they seem to be clipping, and you could address that, no problem, with various tools. But essentially what I want to point out is that now if I switch between the previous version, so I'll go to the next version, we don't really see this ugly, let me see if I can zoom in, we don't really see this ugly jitterness here that we have when we use a LUT. So here now, this is absolutely free of all that stuff. So essentially, if you run into a problem like this, you might be maybe the LUT is causing it, I don't really know. But this is one way of sort of approaching it and dealing with it. All right, thanks for listening, and hopefully this was helpful. Bye-bye.